Hey everybody, Jeff Antoniuk here. Welcome to Advanced Jazz Learning Technique video number 8. Can't believe we're up to number 8. Talking about the Asterisk exercise, which you have no idea what that's about, but we're going to get into it. It's actually one of the best practice techniques I know, and it covers a couple big issues that plague jazz musicians like in a big way. So that's what we're going to be doing. And those of you that have seen these exercises know that there's a handout. It's one handout that goes with the entire series. So if you have this handout, it applies to all 10 videos. And the idea is it's some questions and some guided thinking and some ideas for each one of these videos. It's 10 or 12 pages long, and it'll help you sort of think through what we're talking about on these videos and practice techniques and all that kind of business. So please send me an email, jeffantoniuk@gmail.com. and I'll send it off to you. I'd love to start a conversation with you. Well, okay, so those of you that have been tuning in know that these videos are geared for both teachers and for students. And now for teachers today, I just want to kind of paint a little picture of the adult student folks that I work with. If you've tuned into any of these, you know that I'm pretty rabid fan of teaching adult students, teaching jazz amateurs to play, this great music, and I've really geared my business to that. And so there are hundreds and thousands of folks, which is amazing, who are checking out these videos, and I love that. And I want to sort of paint a picture of who I think these people are, the people that I know that tune in and study with me on the adult side. So now for these students, and again, I'm talking to teachers here to sort of paint this picture because it's a little different than I think what a lot of you are doing. For these students, they have this incredible desire to play this music. Now, they may not be at whatever ability level. It's not about talent, it's not about skill, it's not about past achievement. I'm talking about students that have an amazing desire to play this stuff. That's huge. And for anybody that teaches, it's not really where the student's at ability-wise, whether they know about tritone substitutes or the augmented scale. It's about they are dying to learn this stuff. And that's who I'm talking to today. You wouldn't be tuning in to something so ridiculously specific as this if you weren't there, right? So that's who these folks are. There's this fierce desire for my adult students to be a part of jazz, to be a part of music, or to be a saxophone player with a capital S, or a bass player and everything that means in the equipment and everything. That desire to be a part of it, it's huge. These students are into nuance. And again, what we're talking about today is incredibly nuanced. Like a zillionth of a percentage of people on the face of the earth would be interested in something like this. Yet there are thousands of people tuning in and writing and interested in this stuff. So that's the kind of student I'm talking about. And if you think about like maybe an amateur adult golfer, someone who's not making money, they're not on the tour, but they love golfing. And they may be a scratch golfer, they're really good. But think about that person and what they would do to take a stroke or two off their game. And the resources they would invest, and the time they would spend, and the coaches they would enlist, and the equipment they would buy. These are the people I'm talking about that I have the luxury of working with. It's really great. So with these folks, they really invest a lot in me. They trust me, and they invest a lot in me, and I love that because that makes me ramp up my game and really, come at them with tons of value and tons of attention. And that's the part that drives me crazy. So again, I'm still talking to teachers here, is all these students out there that the marketplace isn't speaking to, that most of my friends and peers around the country aren't addressing. They may take an adult student, but they're not focused on that. And so I'm suggesting to some of the jazz professionals out there like you that this may be something for you to think about. I'd love to talk to you about that. And I'm training jazz professionals around the country, the website, jazzteachertraining.com, to do this work. These are the best students, and they are so invested and so desirous of this knowledge. And it just drives me crazy that there aren't more people doing this. And now, if you're one of these great students tuning in, do you know a professional in your town that might be into taking something like this on, that maybe would be able to wrap their head around something like this? I'd love to hear from you and find out about that too. So anyway, I wanted to sort of paint that picture of who these adult students are and what they stand for. I never have to dumb it down because these folks are so into it. And again, what we're going to talk about in about 10 seconds from now is pretty far from dumbed down. It's a great exercise. So I tell you what, let's jump into this. I call it the asterisk exercise for no other reason than I draw these little red stars, these asterisks, on the sheet of paper. So we'll talk about that in a second, but that's where the brilliant name comes from. So one of the hugest issues every one of my friends, jazz musicians, pros, have ever talked about is how long it takes what we're practicing to get into our playing. Like if the stuff I practice today came out on the gig tonight, I would be ecstatic, but it doesn't work that way. It's like those word-a-day calendars we used to get. At the end of the year, did anyone have 365 new words in their vocabulary? No, it doesn't work that way. It drives us crazy. The progress is so slow. And so that's what this exercise is going to be about, ramping that up. So here's a quick story to tell you. I was at North Texas, and this is a true story. I was at a keg party with Michael Brecker. I swear to God. That's the setup. He was in town. A friend of mine had a recital, and so now Michael Brecker, we invite him to come out to the party. So here I am at a keg party in college with Michael Brecker. That was amazing. So I cornered this poor guy in the kitchen. He should have known better than to come to a college keg party. But so I corner him in the kitchen and I say, look, this is driving me crazy. The stuff I'm practicing, it'll take like a month or two to come out in my playing. What am I doing wrong? And he looked at me and he's like, wow, you're lucky. And I said, what? And he said, yeah, the stuff I'm practicing now, it'll be 3, 4, probably 5 months to come out in my playing. So that was a huge lesson that one of the greatest sax players, improvisers, musicians, of generations, this stuff's hard. It takes work. We have to apply. So, I mean, that was a big lesson. That, first of all, Michael Brecker is mortal, that he practiced his butt off. The stories are famous about how guys like he and Coltrane and so many others would practice so hard. And the idea that it takes a while to internalize things. So this exercise is going to help us internalize a little bit. So, we could think about forcing our vocabulary. So like that word-a-day calendar. You could have done something to force that word, whatever it was for today, avuncular, into your vocabulary. You could have figured out a way to do that, and it probably would have had to do with something like assigning yourself, I'm going to use that word in a sentence 20 times before I go to bed tonight. I tell you what, if you do that for 2 or 3 days, it's a lot more likely at the end of the year avuncular is in your vocabulary. I wish I knew what that word meant, actually. You get the idea, right? So let's look at this asterisk exercise. So there's 2 variables to what's going on here. So one is, what am I trying to learn? So that's the lick. So I tell you what, how about my lick is going to be an augmented triad. 1, 3, sharp 5. That's it. 1, 3, sharp 5, 1. And I played that across an octave or 2 on the saxophone. So let's pretend that's the lick we're trying to get into our playing. So here's what this exercise is all about. So I took Tenor Madness, all right? So it's just, a blues tune. It could be any tune. And what I did is I put a little asterisk above a couple spots, fairly randomly picked, by the way, a couple spots where I want to play this lick. So I put a little asterisk in the 4th measure. I put another one in the 8th measure. I put another one 3 measures from the end. And so now here's the assignment. This simple. I'm going to play choruses of the blues, of B-flat blues, Tenor Madness, and my assignment is I have to play that bit of vocabulary in those spots. So in other words, I have to improvise for 3 measures, and in the 4th measure, play my lick there. No improvising in the 4th measure. So maybe those 4 measures would sound like this. 1, 2, 3. So I improvised for 3, and then I played that lick in the 4th measure. I hope that's easy enough to hear. You don't know the lick to differentiate it from my improvising. I'll do it one more time. So I'm improvising for 3, then playing that descending augmented triad. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now I've assigned myself a couple other places in the blues to do it. So let's see if I can go through. So again, I'm going to try doing this in the 4th measure, the 8th measure, and then the 10th measure. So now here's the thing. The prerequisite to that is, can I play that lick in those different keys? So for me on the tenor saxophone, I have to be able to play that augmented triad, my lick, my bit of vocabulary, in the key of C. I happen to start on the sharp 5, 3, 1, etc. Can I play it on the 6th chord in the 8th measure? Can I play it on the 5 chord? So there's, we have to know the word that we're saying, and we have to know its definition. We have to know what avuncular means and where to use it in a sentence before we can say it. So I'm going to try to play that lick these 3 times, and it's assigned. There's no improvising. So I have to show up playing that lick in that spot. 1, 2, 3. So I was able to fit it in those 3 spots. Yay for Jeff. Okay, so I'm pretty comfortable with the blues, and I do that on purpose. I pick a song, or a laboratory is the way I think about it, that I'm comfortable with. To do this on Giant Steps or Tones for Jones Bones, that's harder because I'm thinking about the song now. I don't want to think about the song so much. So pick a song that's comfortable. So if I'm doing this with a minor lick, maybe I'll do it on Blue Bossa or Summertime, a simpler song that I know. And whatever that is for you, doesn't have to be one of those songs. So here's the thing. I give myself an A on the assignment because I got that lick in those 3 spots. Now here's the thing. Here's where it gets interesting. Can I do that for 5 choruses? I now have 15 options. 3 times in a chorus, 3 times 5, so there's 15 options. So you can get really geeky about this and chart your progress. Wow, I got it 12 out of 15 times. Not bad. I'm going to try to get 14 out of 15 next time. So it's cool. Now, what I love about the exercise is we're switching between improvising, hopefully a little bit unconscious, subconscious improvising, and now having to snap to, oh, that's right, I need to say this word now. I need to play this lick now. So, I don't know. To me, I think there's something good that happens with our brain when we do that. I mean, our goal, bit long term, is for all this to come out, just unconscious, subconscious. But I think as part of practice, this is a pretty cool thing to be switching gears very quickly. Now, here's where the thing gets interesting is the way I played it before. If you rewind, it sounded pretty pasted in. I just kind of jumped and, I was doing my best to just fit that lick in. Now, here's the thing. How about do it 100 more times, 100 more choruses, and how about if you can play into the lick and out of the lick? So after a while, I want the lick to disappear. It's still there exactly as you're playing it, but I don't want it to sound like a lick. I don't want it to sound like a quote, like you're quoting Shakespeare in the middle of nowhere. If you're going to quote Shakespeare, get into it in a pretty slick way. And get out of it, maybe it was so slick people didn't even know you quoted Shakespeare. Well, you should probably give him credit, but you get the idea, right? We want our licks to not sound like licks. So let me see if I can do something like this for you. So the idea of I'm going to do the exact same thing, playing the lick one more time, 4th measure, 8th measure, 10th measure, but can I make it disappear a little more? There's a lot of ways to do that. 1, 2, 3. Better than the first time. And there's any number of ways you can do it. If you know you're starting on a high G sharp, how about if you play a scale up to a high G sharp? It sounds like you got there on purpose. How about at the end of the lick, if you find a way to resolve into the next chord? I think at one point I played the lick in advance of where I needed to. Then I played it where I was supposed to, so it sounded motivic. It sounded like I was developing an idea. I actually played the lick early, so the second time. There's so many ways to do this. This is the best exercise. It gets you thinking consciously about developing ideas. It's really awesome. So there's a number of variables. So one is most importantly is what's the bit of vocabulary you're working on. So you define that. For me today, augmented triad. What is your laboratory, I should say. So for me, it was the blues. If it's a dominant lick or something like that, blues is a great place to do it. If it's a major 7 lick, how about take the A train? There's a lot of major 7 chords in there. If it's a minor lick, we went over that, blue bossa. So you understand how this works. And then here's the interesting thing is now, once you're nailing it, you're playing that lick at these asterisk spots really, really well, erase them and move them to 3 different spots in the blues. And it's shocking how hard that is to put them in different places. So now we're talking about flexibility with where you use this word in the sentence. You don't always use that adjective in the same place. You use it in a different place. So wow, you're really using this. So the exercise is all about how to sort of force vocabulary into our playing or to just understand the vocabulary better. So it really works. I've used this for a long time. I've used it with students a bunch. Here's the other thing. So this is a more advanced, nuanced sort of exercise. It also works amazingly for really beginning students. Now, that's not really who I'm talking to here, but I'm just going to say, folks, and I remember a zillion years ago getting lost in chord changes. By the 4th measure, I didn't know if I was in the 4th measure or 5th measure. I'm juggling so many things. So here's the thing. If you put an asterisk in the 3rd measure, you have to show up with your information at the right point. So it sounds like it would be yet another thing to worry about, but I guarantee you, I've done this with really beginning students, and it forces them to sort of check in and prove to me they know where they're at. And when they do this once every 4 measures through a phrase, it's amazing. Like people just end up not getting lost, like cured in an hour or something like that. It really works great. So I hope this is interesting to you. I really encourage you to try this exercise. I would love to know if you've heard or tried something like this before. Again, like all these other videos, not rocket science, but nobody taught me this. I didn't read it in a book. Yeah, I may have pieced it together from other situations, but there's so many ways to go about this. I've found this to be very powerful. I'd love to know if you have your own version of it or if you were taught this idea from somebody. I'm sure I got it from somebody. I didn't invent this stuff, right? So thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope you're enjoying the Advanced Jazz Learning Techniques videos. I love that I'm talking to students out there, but really I'm trying to get in touch with jazz professionals like myself around the country and give you some different ideas. And again, I love hearing from you on how you do this stuff. But I do want to put that thought in your mind about working with these adult students and what an amazing business it is in all different ways. So get in touch with me. Let me know. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, this video and 30 preceding videos are all up there. If you go to Jeff Antoniuk Educator on YouTube, you'll have access to all that stuff. Everything's archived there. So thank you so much for the comments and everything else. I sure appreciate people sharing this with other people you may think would find it valuable. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Take care.